So do you have some destructive habits or limiting beliefs that are keeping you stuck in life? Well, I'm going to share 5 life-changing habits with you that will help you take back your power and help you create a more fulfilling life. That's exactly what this video is about. But it's not just about replacing destructive habits or limiting beliefs. It's all about the person that you have to become to develop and maintain these new habits that will give you definitely that flavor that spices up your life. So let's just jump right into it. The first habit is honesty. You first have to stop being afraid to be honest with yourself, totally honest with yourself about the habits that you have and what needs to change. In my favorite book, there's the story of a man who was really troubled because he could not stop doing the things that he did not want to do. But what's even worse than that, he couldn't force himself to do the things that he wanted to do or even knew that he should do. And this really confused him until he had an opportunity to talk with the ultimate life coach. So I want to invite you to share with me in the comments a habit that you want to change, you really need to change, but you just haven't been able to do so for whatever reasons. And I'll do my best to address that in an upcoming video. We hear over and over again that change is so hard, and it can be hard, but we make it so much harder than it has to be by trying to change everything at once, by trying to change without any help, and without giving ourselves any grace when we fall off the wagon. There is a science to replacing bad habits with good habits. And at the end of this video, I'm going to share with you a method that I've used quite a few times that's going to have you believing, Richard, it can't be that easy, but it is. But first you want to begin by replacing a small habit. That's going to give you a quick victory to build on. Something like reading a paragraph out of a personal development book right before you go to bed instead of doom scrolling on your phone. Or maybe choose to drink a glass of water every morning before you get that first cup of coffee. I tell you what, your coffee will taste better. Believe me. You want to start stacking small habit replacements because that's going to help you start rebuilding your confidence and also rebuilding your faith and trust in yourself. The reason that it feels so hard is that you've actually gotten into the habit of not keeping your word to yourself. But I don't want you to worry about that too much because you will get in the habit of replacing or rebuilding your trust in yourself. So listen, please don't stress over this because at the end of this video, I'm also going to share with you a free resource that will help you with that. The second habit is the habit of encouraging yourself. You have to make a decision to get into the habit of telling yourself that you are worthy, that you're worthy of love, worthy of good, and that you are worthy of the best that this life has to offer, and that you, yes, you, matter. Even if you don't believe it, I don't want you to worry too much about that. I want you to stay consistent because the more that you believe, the more that you get into the habit of encouraging yourself, the less you will be maintaining the habit of discouraging yourself. A martial arts instructor once told his student who was crying to him because he could not win a match no matter what he did. He said, teacher, I will never be successful as a martial artist. And the teacher said, on the contrary, my son, you are very successful because you are successful at believing that you cannot be successful. The student said, please tell me more, master, because I need your help desperately. At that point, the teacher said to the student, repetition is the mother of learning, and repetition of new thoughts is the beginning of new thought habits. And once you begin behaving as a champion, then you will no longer behave as a challenger. Well, the student took his master at his word, and 2 years later, he became national champion, and he was on his way to compete in an international tournament. I'm reminded of a very good friend of mine who was bullied in school as a young girl. The other kids repeatedly called her ugly and said that she was too ugly to even get married, and this really hurt her deeply. They called her names like Puzzle Face and Jigsaw. She showed me some of her schoolgirl pictures, and she was a very, very pretty girl with the bluest blue eyes that you could imagine. So she had a skin condition called vitiligo that caused her skin to have discolorations all over her body, including her face. So she was teased all the way through high school and even into her college career. Well, it turns out she met a young man in her senior year who would tell her every morning how pretty he just really thought she was. She didn't believe him, and she thought that he was just making fun of her or just being mean. In fact, halfway through their senior year, he started telling her that she indeed was the most beautiful girl that he had ever met. That same girl went on to become a beauty pageant winner, and she even qualified for the Miss USA pageant. Now, these two have been married for years, and they have the most beautiful family. She started believing what he said because whenever she thought about him, she felt pretty, and she started telling herself whenever she passed the mirror, "You are pretty, you are beautiful." And she believed it. Gets me emotional thinking about it. It doesn't matter what people have said about you or even have thought about you in the past, because your past is not who you are. Your past is your past. It does not define you. Sometimes we just have to believe in somebody else's belief in us until our belief in ourselves is strong enough. Situations, circumstances, and events don't define you. It's the meaning that we attach to them that actually define you, that give you the opportunity to think less of yourself and label yourself. But when you're labeling yourself, you want to make sure that you're giving yourself the correct label. If you went into a grocery store to buy bread and that bread had a label on it tagged eggs, well, you know that it's not a carton of eggs. So don't label yourself something that you are not. Label yourself the highest label because that's who you are. Let people think what they want to think. What people think about you is none of your business. That's their stuff. So it's actually how you feel about yourself that prevents you from replacing your bad habits with good habits, just like the guy in the book. So you want to start and really develop the habit of speaking as much encouragement into yourself as you can, because you are indeed the cavalry, my friend. No one's coming to save you. No one's coming to rescue you. And I want you to understand and start believing with all of your heart that when it's just you alone by yourself, you are in the best possible company that you could ever be in. That brings us to the third habit, which is become your biggest cheerleader. There's a woman by the name of Lisa Nichols who used to say that you have to become the very first example for the rest of the world of what it means to treat you with respect and to love you. You see, we are more critical of ourselves than anyone else could ever be. And that brings me to the fourth habit, which is stop worrying about what people think about you. What people think about you, what people have as an opinion about you is none of your business. That's their business. People are more worried about themselves. People are more worried about how they feel, their insecurities, their self-doubt, their self-sabotaging. They're wondering about things like that because most people, when they look at you, are really just thinking about themselves, their own insecurities. So stop worrying about what other people think about you. What do you think about you? What do you think about you? That's the most important thing, because what you think about you is going to determine how you feel about you, and how you feel about you is going to determine how you show up in the world every day. Are you going to show up as who you authentically are, or are you going to show up as someone who needs that representative? Now, when you show your representative that you are the most important thing, that you are the one that represents me out there, not who I authentically am, what you tell your authentic self is you do not have what it takes to represent us. You tell your authentic self that I don't think that you're good enough, and I think that you may be soft, or I think that you may lead us astray. And that right there is something that makes you stop having faith and trust in yourself. And the fifth habit is the habit of writing down 5 things that you are grateful for every morning as soon as you wake up. You see, starting your morning with a gratitude mindset is the most powerful thing and intentional thing that you can do for your day. You may have noticed that usually when you wake up the first thing in the morning, the first thing that comes to mind is all of the stuff that you got to do for that day, or maybe even some of the stuff that carried over from yesterday that's been causing you problems. That's why I say to you at night, read something that's positive. Read something that's going to help you with your mindset and stop that doom scrolling, because when you do that right before you go to bed, that's what your mind works on all night. You see, I could throw in another habit that will really, greatly serve you, which is to be intentional about your day. But I'll save that for another video because that's going to be a deep dive right there. But for now, make sure that every morning when you wake up, just before you even open your eyes, when you gain consciousness, just start to think about what you're grateful for. And then when you get up, make sure you have a notebook or a piece of paper next to your bed and start writing. Just write 5 things that you are grateful for and watch how your day, the trajectory of your day changes. You're going to have a much better day. Does it mean you're going to have a day that's not challenging? No, doesn't mean that at all. But what it does mean is that your perspective will be better. It does mean that your outlook will be better. It does mean that you will, instead of reacting, you will respond appropriately to the situations that confront you, because you will start to believe and know that who you are is powerful, who you are is worthy, and who you are is bigger than anything that can confront you. So do me a favor and leave a comment below about one thing that you're grateful for. Just one thing that you're very, very grateful for. And I can promise you that I'm going to get around to as many comments as I can and just throw something out there that I'm grateful for, because an attitude of gratitude is the beginning of plenty. An attitude of ingratitude is the beginning of lack. So I shared with you that I was going to share a method with you. Actually, it's a strategy that I used several times when replacing bad habits with good habits. And I'm going to tell you, you're going to think this is crazy, but here it is. Here it is. I talked to my bad habits. I talked to the habits that no longer served me. And I actually gave them permission to leave. Sounds crazy, doesn't it? Well, this is exactly how it works. Because when I was quitting smoking cigarettes, I believed it was going to be really hard. Friends were saying, "Oh, Richard, you're going to get bigger and bigger. You're going to get irritated. You're going to be like this. You're not so nice. You're going to change." And I was like, come on, man, it can't be that deep. But it did concern me. But then I just realized, listen, it doesn't have to be that hard, because it's really just a decision. So the 2nd of March, 2021, I made a decision on that day not to smoke anymore. Now that was one of the best decisions that I've ever made before in my life, because I smoked for a long, long, long time. Now, was it without trials? Was it without temptation? No. That's why I decided to talk to my temptation, to talk to the habit of smoking. And here's how it went. The first thing that I would do is say, "Oh, I hear you. I see you. I feel you, habit. I feel you. I feel that temptation. And I just want you to know that instead of turning away from you, I turn into you. And I want to let you know that I thank you for serving me, because you served me very well at a time when I needed you. And as a result of your service being done, your mission being completed in my life, I now give you permission to leave. I now give you permission to leave. I want you to know that I love you and I acknowledge you. But I also want you to know that you no longer serve me." And so many of us, if we would just turn into what it is that we're afraid of, or turn into what it is that we want to discontinue, instead of trying to run away from it or push it away because it serves a purpose, we have to internalize every part of ourselves. We have to internalize that thing that we do not want, because it's been a part of ourselves for such a long time. And then we have to actually acknowledge it and give it permission to no longer have dominion in our lives, because we have given it dominion in the first place in our lives. So that's how that works. I would sometimes repeat that. I would sometimes have that conversation with the old habit of smoking 2, 3 times, 4 times a day sometimes. As a matter of fact, I would even be in my car and I'd be at a stoplight, and I'd be talking to the old habit of smoking, giving it permission to leave. And somebody would be looking at me thinking, "Oh, this fool's crazy here." But I was not crazy, because I was taking control of what I've been told I have dominion over, and that's my mind. So you can use that in anything that you are trying to change. You can use that with any habit that you're trying to change. You can talk to a food addiction. You can talk to a sex addiction. You can talk to a gambling addiction. And if you just talk to it instead of just trying to turn your back on it and push it away, the wrong thing to do is to push things away. See, because what you resist pursues you. What you resist pursues you. What you embrace will ultimately give you peace. You will have peace because it no longer pursues you. So keep in mind, it's okay to talk to yourself, and it's also okay to talk to an old behavior pattern that has been dominating and controlling your life, and give it permission to leave. I want you to check the description. There's a link for my website where you can find some free resources that will help you. One specifically will help you on how to develop positive habits and replace habits that don't serve you. And also, if any of this video resonated with you in any way, leave a comment below what resonated most. And also, don't forget to like and share this with your friends. And please don't forget to subscribe to this video and hit that notification bell so that you can be notified when new videos do come out. I'm Richard. I'm your brother. You are worthy. You matter. You've always been good enough. I love you, and it's never too late or too early to transform your life on purpose. See you in the next video.